Now, on Newswave, recently we talked about Microsoft and xCloud being pretty much blocked by Apple when it comes to getting xCloud on iOS and the App Store, and they cited some policies in their terms of service that point towards them not being able to review every single game in xCloud, since Microsoft likes to add a lot of different games to Game Pass very frequently. Like we talk about on Newswave, I feel like a lot, where it'll be like, oh, that's cool, there's like 5 new games coming to Game Pass and we're midway through the month and they're just randomly going to start dropping them. It's always fun. It's exciting, right? So Apple would want to apparently review every single one of those. And I kind of looked at this like, okay, Microsoft and Apple will probably figure it out. We'll see what they do there. But while I was looking at this as more of a minor speed bump, it turns out it might be a bit more of a bigger deal than that. Like, I don't know what's going to happen to get this resolved, but either way, I'm looking at this as iOS users getting a lesser than experience when it comes to xCloud, especially if you compare it to what Android will be getting starting in September. And the reason we can kind of look at this and say that is because Facebook has now decided to say something about this. Yeah, apparently, it's not just Microsoft who has dealt with something like this in an application that allows you to play other games that Apple is not happy about because they can't review them, I guess. Again, probably comes down to money. But The Verge had a statement that they were given by Facebook, and I want to go over it because it does point out a bit of an issue that Microsoft is going to be having going forward. Now, I'll leave a link to this article down below, but it has the statements kind of in the article. It says, unfortunately, we had to remove gameplay functionality entirely in order to get Apple's approval on the standalone Facebook gaming app, meaning iOS users have an inferior experience to those using Android. This is from Sheryl Sandberg, Facebook's chief operating officer. This is in a press statement that was given to The Verge. We're staying focused on building communities for the more than 380 million people who play games on Facebook every month, whether Apple allows it in a standalone app or not. And if we get on here, we have a little graphic here that shows that, oh, Discover's there, Connect, but you can't play any of the games, and you can watch your favorite streamers and all of this. You can find them, kind of like, I guess, what you do with like the Twitch application or YouTube gaming or anything like that. But the idea here is that I guess Facebook wanted you to also be able to just play different games. They say play games instantly with the people you care about. They had to cut that out, apparently because Apple won't or can't review them or can't go over each game, even if they are streamed to your device and not necessarily installed. And the games, like by Microsoft, they've said they're going to xCloud, are already reviewed by the ESRB for rating for any content that's in there that might be mature rated or all of that. Apple doesn't seem to care that much. And again, I still think it just comes back to money being the big thing here. But here is where things get a little interesting, because Facebook tried to appeal this. Yeah, but here's what apparently happened. They said, we even appealed the guideline under the new app review process announced at WWDC. We did not receive a response. This was back in June where they did that, apparently. And if Facebook appealed this through this process that Apple put out there, specifically in case something like this comes up for an application, yeah, that might be a problem for Microsoft. Facebook isn't getting a response from Apple. I don't know if Microsoft will either in a timely fashion at this point. I mean, this could end up being something that goes on for quite a while. In the meantime, Android is just getting the application. Google has been pretty good about that. It's on the Play Store. In fact, what's really funny is while I was doing xCloud, I decided to try to sideload the application onto devices it's not designed for. So like I have a little Android stick I dropped it on. I dropped it on NVIDIA Shield TV. And while the Shield TV was a little strange because NVIDIA tries to have like their own walled garden inside of Android, it's still completely possible to do. And on that little Android stick that I have, it's like this little like USB looking stick, but it plugs into HDMI and you power it through the wall. That I was able to just find on the Play Store. They're pretty good about this, even though they probably could pull some shenanigans like this, similar to what Apple is doing, because of course they control Stadia, who right now is xCloud's main competitor. They still just allow it. Now, the reason it could take years is because this has been the case for Facebook for years. Check this out. It says, even on the main Facebook app and Messenger, we've been forced to bury instant games for years on iOS. That's from Facebook Gaming Chief Vivek Sharma. That's also in a statement to Verge. This is shared pain across the games industry, which ultimately hurts players and devs and severely hamstrings innovation on mobile for other types of formats like cloud gaming. So the reason I am actually liking xCloud is because it's not Microsoft's main platform. Like Stadia, that's their main platform. Take it or leave it. This is how it's going to be. There's not going to be a box. There's not going to be PC versions of the games. You don't download them. It's just streaming, and you have to buy them completely. I think xCloud is perfect right in the middle there. I see it more as a utility, like GeForce Now kind of. I think it works very well for what it is, and I've played it here or there, like I said, on my phone, and I've used an Xbox One controller, I've used a PlayStation 4 controller, and get this, because they added this in a patch, it seems, just randomly through xCloud, I've used the NVIDIA Shield TV controller. That's also worked. So they have been adding quite a bit, and it is a shame to see iOS users, because there are a lot of them. I see it on Twitter. There apparently, from the last thing I've seen, 1.5 billion iOS users. I will say, if you are somebody who really is invested in the Xbox ecosystem, whether it is through PC or maybe you have Game Pass on PC, that means you have Game Pass Ultimate, you might look at that and say, well, I mean, I like the idea of getting more value for my subscription by having access to xCloud on my phone, but I have iOS. You know what? Maybe the next time I upgrade, I'll go get an Android phone. Right? I mean, there's some good Android phones out there. The One Plus is a great line of phones, right? I have a OnePlus 7. I really like it. So I almost wonder, I feel like Apple won't care, because for the most part, when it seems anyway, when Apple gets you in and you start buying their PCs and you start buying their phones, it's almost like this feeling of being stuck in their ecosystem there. But still, xCloud not being allowed on there, even Facebook Gaming, while I'm not like jumping out of my chair to go play Facebook Gaming, I'm sure there are people who would like to play those games on that app. It's more and more pressure being put on Apple to not be as restrictive when it comes to this, specifically games, but not streaming. I mean, think about what we're talking about, something very similar with Netflix, because there are interactive movies that are kind of like those choose your own adventure things on Netflix. That is interactive and can be considered a game, but iOS and Apple, they're fine with that. But specifically games, almost like they're not excited about that being there to compete with Apple Arcade. Let me know what you guys think about this down below. And here's the biggest question I have right now. Do you think there will be some sort of resolution between Microsoft and Apple? Because if there is, that would set the precedent for other programs and apps like Facebook Gaming, like GeForce Now, and any other streaming app down the line when it comes to having their stuff approved. And you know what? That might be why Apple will hold out on this, because they don't want that to be the case. Will there be a different xCloud for iOS where they have to have each individual game approved? To me, that means that the selection would be much less than what would be on Android, and then people still might be like, you know what, I still might go over to Android. Thanks, guys, for watching. Make sure you like the video on the way out if you enjoyed it, dislike it if not, and I'll see you next time.